in an unprecedented move that has sent shockwaves through the music world. Drake, arguably the defining voice of his generation, has officially canceled the release of Iceman, an album teased for over 2 years. The announcement came not through a press release, but via a leaked court hearing transcript that exposed a bitter, behind-the-scenes legal battle between Drake and his longtime collaborator and co-producer, Malik Iceman Johnson. What started as a creative partnership now reads like a cautionary tale about artistic ownership, trust, and betrayal. Fans and critics alike are divided, some calling it a savvy business maneuver, others decrying it as a heartbreaking destruction of art. But what really happened? What were the accusations that blurred the line between art and reality? And why did a private dispute escalate into a courtroom drama that has music insiders questioning the future of collaborative projects? Today, we unravel the complex layers of the Iceman case, the legal wrangling, the emotional fallout, and the seismic impact on hip-hop's landscape. This is not just a story about an album lost. It's about the fraught, often fragile relationship between artists, their art, and the law. When Drake and Malik Iceman Johnson first announced their collaboration on the Iceman album back in early 2022, the music industry buzzed with anticipation. Malik, a producer rapidly gaining traction for his moody synths and unconventional beats, was seen as the perfect complement to Drake's introspective lyricism. Insiders described their chemistry in the studio as electric, with leaked snippets hinting at a sonic evolution neither artist had attempted before. The project was positioned as a defining moment for both Drake, branching into darker, more experimental territory, Malik stepping into the mainstream spotlight. However, beneath the polished studio images and social media teasers, tensions began to simmer. Sources close to the duo hinted at growing disagreements over creative control and credit allocation. Malik, who had grown up navigating the murky waters of producer rights in hip-hop, is particularly vocal about securing a formal stake in the album's ownership. According to multiple anonymous sources, Malik insisted that his contributions, both in production and songwriting, be officially recognized with co-ownership of the masters and publishing rights. Drake and his label, Uvo Sound, initially appeared amenable, but reportedly resisted binding legal contracts, preferring instead to rely on trust and informal agreements. This reliance on handshake deals and vague verbal commitments would later become a central issue in the legal battles that unraveled publicly. Industry veterans watching the situation noted with concern that Malik's insistence on formal recognition was unusual for Uvo Sound, a label known for its close-knit, almost familial relationships with artists and collaborators. Insiders speculated that Drake's growing global brand was shifting the label's priorities, with business interests beginning to take precedence over the collaborative spirit that once defined their projects. The first cracks became public in late 2024, when word leaked that Malik had filed a lawsuit against Drake and Uvo Sound, alleging unauthorized deletion of his production files and breach of contract. Malik's legal team claimed that Drake had digitally erased multiple tracks from the Iceman sessions, effectively sabotaging the album's completion without Malik's consent. The allegations painted a picture of a bitter dispute where business decisions and personal grievances collided, leaving the album's future in jeopardy. Court documents, which were later leaked to the press, revealed a series of informal agreements and emails that blurred the lines of ownership. Malik's attorneys argued that the lack of a written contract should not invalidate Malik's co-creative role, citing industry standards and previous cases where verbal agreements had been upheld. They emphasized Malik's pivotal role in crafting the album's distinctive sound, presenting session logs and testimonies from studio engineers who corroborated Malik's deep involvement. Drake's defense team, however, painted a different picture. They insisted that, as the lead artist and primary creative force behind the project, Drake retained ultimate authority over the album's release and content. Their filings argued that Malik's attempts to leak unfinished work and disrupt the production process amounted to a breach of confidentiality. and contractual obligations. Furthermore, they maintained that Drake's decision to cancel the album was a painful but necessary artistic choice aimed at preserving his creative vision. Amidst the legal jargon and mounting accusations, emotional undercurrents were palpable. Insiders revealed that the two had once been close collaborators, sharing long studio nights and creative breakthroughs. Malik described as passionate but sometimes unpredictable, reportedly clashed with Drake's increasingly controlled and commercial approach. According to one source, Malik accused Drake of losing sight of the music in favor of corporate interests. While Drake viewed Malik's actions as erratic and detrimental to their shared vision, this human drama extended beyond the artists themselves, entangling their respective teams and families. Whispers of behind-the-scenes negotiations and pressure tactics emerged, with Malik's legal team alleging that OVO sound executives had attempted to coerce Malik into silence with offers that fell short of his demands. These claims added fuel to the fire, suggesting that the dispute was as much about power dynamics within the industry as about the album itself. The public, meanwhile, was watching closely. Social media exploded with speculation and divided opinions. Some fans supported Drake, praising his right to control his art and branding Malik as opportunistic. Others rallied behind Malik, celebrating his fight for producer rights and authenticity in an industry known for exploiting creatives. The media played its part, with music blogs and entertainment news outlets dissecting every leaked detail, amplifying the controversy amid these developments. The significance of the Iceman album transcended just one artist or producer. The case spotlighted a broader, ongoing issue in the music business: the often precarious position of producers and co-creators in negotiations over ownership, royalties, and credit. Despite their crucial role in shaping the sound of modern music, producers frequently find themselves sidelined in the legal and financial arrangements. Music law experts began weighing in publicly, analyzing the case for its potential to set precedent. Lisa Chen, a well-respected entertainment attorney, told a leading music industry podcast, "This case perfectly encapsulates the risks of informal agreements in a high-stakes creative environment. It's a stark reminder that in today's digital landscape, where music is instantly distributable and monetizable, clear contracts aren't just bureaucracy, they're protection." Further complicating matters were the digital dimensions of the dispute. The deletion of master files raised technical and legal questions. INDUSTRY insiders explained that once master recordings are deleted from a label's servers, restoring them can be challenging or impossible without backup copies. This raised the stakes immensely. If Malik's allegations were true, the Iceman album's core work might be irretrievably lost. Additionally, the case shed light on evolving music production practices. Collaborative projects often involve dozens of contributors across different locations and time zones, with files passed back and forth digitally. This fluid process sometimes leads to blurred lines of ownership and rights, making legal clarity difficult but ever more crucial within OVO Sound. Internal tensions reportedly escalated as executives tried to navigate the fallout. Some advocated for a swift settlement to minimize public damage and preserve Drake's image, while others pushed for. Judges and legal observers noted the hearing's intensity and the stark contrast between the parties' positions. Drake's lawyers skillfully framed their case around established contractual rights and the principle that lead artists have final say over their work. Malik's team emphasized creative contribution and industry practices that often rely on less formal agreements. The tension culminated in the revelation that the Iceman album's masters had been permanently deleted from OVO's servers. This stunning development was confirmed through technical audits presented in court, effectively destroying the album in its original form. For many, this was the moment the case transformed from a dispute over rights into a cultural tragedy. This loss prompted reflection within the music community about how art can be vulnerable to business conflicts. Critics lamented the erasure of a potentially groundbreaking project, while others debated the ethical complexities of ownership and control amidst the mounting drama. Drake's camp maintained a public silence, releasing only a brief statement emphasizing artistic integrity and respect for all collaborators. Malik, meanwhile, took to social media sporadically, expressing heartbreak and frustration, but vowing to continue fighting for recognition and justice as the courtroom drama unfolded. The stakes around the Iceman album only grew higher. The leaked court transcripts from early 2025 revealed moments of debate. If you're using like a scanner app and it's like a scanner app and it's like you're gonna die. Like, look at this. Let's look at this. Look at this. And we all know I've been exploring tension and confrontation that stunned observers. Malik's lawyers meticulously presented their case, arguing that the absence of written contracts did not negate Malik's creative rights. Their argument hinged on the doctrine of implied contracts and the industry's often informal practice and approach. That raised important questions about how music law intersects with evolving collaboration. Models, testimony from studio engineers, and session musicians detailed Malik's involvement, not just as a beatmaker, but as a architect of the album's mood and themes. One engineer recounted how Malik insisted on multiple revisions, layering complex synth textures and drum patterns that gave the album its signature icy atmosphere. Drake's lyricism, the engineer testified, was built around Malik's soundscapes, making it impossible to separate their contributions without fundamentally altering the work. Yet, Drake's attorneys countered by emphasizing the artist's contractual prerogative to control final content. Citing precedent cases, they argued that lead artists and their labels have long held final approval rights, especially when no formal partnership agreements exist. Their legal strategy framed Malik's actions such as leaking unfinished tracks and disrupting the production schedule as violations, justifying Drake's decision to cancel the project. The court was particularly drawn to a critical email exchange from late 2024, when Drake's management expressed frustration over leaked snippets appearing online without consent. The email read aloud in court described the leaks as damaging to the project's commercial viability and a breach of trust that cannot be ignored. The judge's reaction was telling. She pressed Malik's counsel on how their client's behavior aligned with professional standards, underscoring the delicate balance between creative freedom and contractual obligation. The hearing also revealed deeper emotional rifts. Malik testified with visible emotion, describing the project as my dream, my legacy. He recounted how Drake's shifting attitude from collaborator to adversary felt like a personal betrayal. He described sleepless nights and frantic calls seeking clarity that never came. His narrative portrayed a talented young producer crushed by the machinery of the music industry. In contrast, Drake's testimony painted Malik as unpredictable and difficult, alleging that Malik's erratic behavior threatened to derail the entire project. Drake explained that his decision to cancel the album was born from frustration and a desire to protect his artistic brand. In one poignant moment, Drake described wrestling with the choice to destroy the work they had built together, ultimately concluding that some things are bigger than the music itself. The judge's questions reflected an acute awareness of the case's wider implications. She noted, "This is not just a dispute over ownership, but a reflection of evolving creative processes and the five. If you're using like a scanner app, and it's like, we're gonna take it. Like, we're gonna die. Like, look at this. And look at this. And we all know I've been exploring. We do a unloosib you on we do. I will like skaze up at we do. As we decor, we slash in with sequo. FAE to see it. 8. We decide with thee, we declare within can with cicada sound. Can we decide to see you to you to we see you to you get you to sue we sick to sue I can cut you guy to sue can I do we you to got guy at cassa Challenges of digital collaboration. Legal. Experts watching the proceedings observed that the judge's probing suggested a nuanced approach, balancing strict contract law with the realities of modern music production. Outside the courtroom, media coverage intensified. Major music publications published in-depth analyses, comparing the Iceman case to previous high-profile disputes, such as Taylor Swift's Masters controversy and Kanye West's battles over production credits. Commentators debated whether the case signaled a shift toward greater producer empowerment or reinforced the dominance of star artists, and labels. Social media became a battleground. Fan campaigns emerged, supporting Malik's fight for recognition, using hashtags like #SaveIceman and #ProducerPower. Others defended Drake's right to control his work, arguing that collaboration does not imply equal ownership. Influencers and music industry insiders added layers of commentary, fueling viral debates that kept the story in the public eye. With an OVO sound, the dispute triggered an internal crisis. Leaked emails revealed sharp disagreements between label executives over crisis management. Some advocated a conciliatory approach, seeking to rebuild relationships and quietly settle. Others urged a firm defense of Drake's position, fearing that concessions could undermine the label's authority and business model. These tensions extended to the artists' entourages. Reports emerged of fractured friendships and strained loyalties. Malik's close collaborators distanced themselves from OVO Sound, with some producers publicly expressing solidarity. Drake's inner circle, meanwhile, emphasized loyalty to the brand and its vision, viewing the dispute as a necessary sacrifice. Amid this, the emotional toll on both artists was evident. Malik's social media posts grew increasingly candid, expressing feelings of isolation and disillusionment. Drake, though more guarded, hinted at the personal cost of the conflict in interviews, describing it as one of the hardest chapters of his career. Their stories humanized the legal battle, reminding observers that behind contracts and courtrooms are real people grappling with complex emotions. The Iceman case also raised pressing questions about the role of digital technology in music disputes. Experts pointed out that digital files can be easily copied, altered, or destroyed, complicating ownership claims. The deletion of the Iceman masters, confirmed by technical audits presented in court, was a stark example of how digital assets are both invaluable and vulnerable. Industry analysts noted that the case could prompt calls for stronger legal frameworks governing digital music collaborations. We're seeing a convergence of creativity and technology that outpaces existing laws, one analyst said. This case may force the industry to rethink contracts, copyrights, and protections for all parties involved. Moreover, the controversy illuminated the often hidden pressures within record labels. Executives juggling artistic development, commercial success, and legal risk must navigate a complex terrain. The leaked internal communications from OVO Sound showed executives wrestling with balancing Drake's global superstar status against the growing demands for producer equity and transparency. As the trial moved forward, a critical hearing scheduled for May 2025 promised to be a turning point. This hearing would feature surprise witnesses and new evidence expected to deepen the court's understanding of the case. Legal observers speculated that the testimony of a former OVO sound engineer, rumored to reveal unauthorized session edits and leaks, could sway the court's opinion. This hearing was also set to clarify the fate of the Iceman masters. While it was known that key files had been deleted, questions remained about whether backup copies existed and who had the right to access. Johnny took the stand with an air of quiet confidence, his testimony revealing the intricacies and turbulence behind the scenes. He described his role as the engineer responsible for overseeing the Iceman sessions, tasked with maintaining the integrity of the recordings and managing the digital files. What unfolded, according to Johnny, was a complicated narrative of trust broken and procedures ignored, he testified. That Malik had repeatedly bypassed standard protocols, uploading unauthorized edits and sharing incomplete versions of tracks outside the OVO sound system. Johnny recounted how this behavior caused chaos in the production timeline, forcing the team to halt sessions multiple times to contain leaks and confusion. His statement that Malik's actions jeopardized not only the project but the label's reputation raised eyebrows across the courtroom. The defense seized on Johnny's testimony to emphasize Malik's role in undermining the collaboration. Drake's attorneys argued that Malik's unauthorized leaks and failure to follow established processes justified Drake's drastic decision to cancel the album. The judge appeared visibly engaged, asking pointed questions about how standard industry protocols should be enforced in creative collaborations. In contrast, Malik's legal team painted Johnny's testimony as an attempt to scapegoat Malik and deflect from Drake's ultimate responsibility for the album. Malik's lead attorney argued that Malik's behavior was born from frustration over being sidelined in the creative process and from Drake's failure to honor their implicit partnership. They presented emails where Malik sought formal contracts and clear communication, which they claimed OVO Sound repeatedly delayed or ignored. The hearing also revealed startling new evidence. Internal OVO Sound chat logs exposing disagreements among executives over how to handle Malik's demands. Some executives proposed a settlement, acknowledging Malik's contributions and offering him co-ownership stakes, but others rejected this, fearing it would weaken the label's control and set a dangerous precedent. These messages exposed a fractured leadership struggling to reconcile artistry and business. Perhaps most dramatic was the court's examination of the deleted masters. Technical experts testified about the irreversible loss of critical files from OVO Sound servers, confirming that no backups were available. This revelation shocked the court and the public alike. Destroying the masters not only erased the album but also wiped out valuable intellectual property worth millions. The judge responded with a mix of concern and frustration, remarking that the destruction of these masters is a grave loss, not just for the parties involved, but for the cultural heritage of contemporary music. Legal analysts noted this statement signaled the court's awareness that the case extended beyond contractual disputes to questions of artistic preservation. Amid the legal back and forth, the emotional stakes remained high. Malik's testimony was raw and impassioned. He spoke of sleepless nights, the crushing disappointment of seeing his work erased, and his deep sense of betrayal. "Iceman was my heart," he told the court. "To have it destroyed feels like losing a part of myself." His words resonated with many observers, humanizing a figure often cast as the antagonist. Drake's testimony was more measured but no less impactful. He acknowledged the difficulty of canceling the album but stood by his decision. "I had to protect my vision and my legacy," he said. "Sometimes that means making painful choices." Drake also expressed regret over how the conflict unfolded but emphasized the necessity of maintaining artistic integrity. This hearing illuminated a fundamental tension in modern music creation: the clash between collaboration and control. The case underscored how digital tools, while enabling unprecedented creativity, also create vulnerabilities and complicate ownership. It showed how trust, so vital in artistic partnerships, can be eroded by conflicting ambitions and business pressures. Meanwhile, the public response intensified. Fans shared clips from the hearing, debating the merits of each side. Podcasts and video essays dissected the legal strategies, and social media hashtags surged anew. The Iceman case became a cultural touchstone, symbolizing broader frustrations with how the music industry treats producers and collaborators. Industry insiders expressed concern that the case might discourage creative risk-taking. If producers fear losing control or credit, they may hesitate to collaborate, One producer remarked anonymously, "That would be a loss for the art form." Others hoped the case would spark reforms, pushing labels to establish clearer contracts and equitable practices. OVO. Sound's reputation took a hit as leaked communications revealed internal discord. Some executives faced criticism for prioritizing control over collaboration, while others were praised for pushing toward compromise. The label announced a forthcoming review of their policies but remained tight-lipped about the ongoing lawsuit. As the court moved closer to a verdict, speculations swirled about potential outcomes. Some legal experts predicted that the judge would rule in favor of Drake's contractual rights, given the absence of formal agreements on Malik's part. Others argued that Malik's documented contributions and the industry context might compel a more nuanced judgment, possibly awarding some damages or rights. Yet the irreversible deletion of the masters complicated any settlement. Without the original recordings, the possibility of releasing the Iceman album in its intended form seemed lost. This reality added a tragic dimension, transforming the case from a legal dispute into a cultural loss. Amid these developments, the emotional toll on both artists deepened. Malik's public statements grew more resolute, framing his fight as a stand for producer rights everywhere. Drake maintained a dignified silence, focusing on his ongoing projects, but never fully escaping the shadow of the comma checked of the dispute. The Iceman saga was no longer just a story of one album. It had become a lens through which the music industry, its legal frameworks, and its human relationships were being reevaluated. The conflict highlighted the necessity of balancing artistic collaboration with clear, enforceable agreements and reminded everyone that behind every hit record lies a complex web of personalities, ambitions, and vulnerabilities. Concludes. The Iceman case stands at a crossroads, with the court preparing to issue a ruling that could reshape the dynamics of music production and ownership. The next and final part will delve into the verdict, the aftermath, and the broader implications for the industry. The awaited verdict in the Iceman case came down in late summer 2025, leaving the music world both relieved and shaken. After months of intense courtroom drama, testimony, and public debate, the judge issued a ruling that balanced legal precedent with the complex realities of creative collaboration. Her decision underscored the evolving nature of music law and the human cost of disputes like this one. The court recognized Drake's contractual rights as the lead artist and primary decision-maker, affirming his authority to control the album's release. The judge cited the absence of formal written agreements granting Malik ownership and upheld the principle that, in such cases, lead artists generally retain final say over their projects. This outcome aligned with long-standing industry norms and reinforced labels' legal protections. However, the ruling also acknowledged Malik's significant creative contributions. The judge noted the ample evidence showing Malik's role as a co-creator, emphasizing that verbal agreements and customary industry practices carry weight in ownership claims. Accordingly, Malik was awarded a share of songwriting royalties accrued from the recorded sessions that had been officially released prior to the dispute, a modest but meaningful victory. Critically, the court addressed the irreversible deletion of the Iceman masters. It condemned the destruction as an avoidable and regrettable loss, yet concluded that the act, while tragic, did not alter the legal rights concerning ownership or royalties. The judge urged labels and artists to adopt stricter safeguards for digital assets, warning that such losses threaten not only the parties involved, but the broader cultural landscape. The verdict left many observers with mixed feelings. Supporters of Drake hailed the ruling as a vindication of artistic control and the necessity of clear contracts. Others viewed Malik's partial win as a rare acknowledgement of producer rights, signaling a potential shift in how the industry values. Behind the scenes, collaborators. Malik publicly responded with measured optimism, stating, "While the loss of the Iceman album is heartbreaking, this ruling affirms that producers deserve recognition and fair compensation. I hope this case sparks changes to protect creators moving forward." Drake remained mostly silent, but later released The verdict's impact rippled beyond the courtroom. Music industry leaders began discussing reforms to prevent similar conflicts. Proposals included standardized contracts for producers, mandatory backup protocols for digital masters, and clearer guidelines for credit and royalty splits. Some labels promised to review internal policies to better balance creative collaboration with business realities. Moreover, the case prompted conversations about the emotional toll of high-profile disputes. Artists, producers, and managers spoke candidly about the pressures and vulnerabilities inherent in creative partnerships, urging more transparent communication and mutual respect. The Iceman saga became a cautionary tale highlighting the fragility of artistic alliances under commercial strain. Fans and critics debated the verdict's cultural significance. Some lamented the permanent loss of the album, imagining what the music might have meant for the genre's evolution. Others reflected on the broader themes: trust, power, and justice that the case brought to light. The Iceman story served as a mirror reflecting the music industry's ongoing struggles to adapt to the digital age while honoring its creative roots. As the dust settled, Malik and Drake both moved forward with new projects, their careers indelibly marked by the dispute. Industry watchers speculated about potential future collaborations or reconciliations, though the case had undeniably reshaped their relationship. The Iceman controversy also left an indelible mark on music law scholarship. Legal journals published analyses exploring the case's implications for implied contracts, digital asset protection, and the evolving definition of authorship. Law schools incorporated the case into curricula, underscoring its significance for future entertainment lawyers and artists alike. Perhaps most importantly, the case sparked renewed activism among producers and behind-the-scenes creators, demanding greater equity and clarity. Organizations advocating for producer rights cited the Iceman saga as emblematic of systemic issues needing urgent attention. Calls for unionization, standardized contracts, and improved education about legal rights gained momentum. In the end, the Iceman album, once heralded as a groundbreaking collaboration, became a symbol of both creative possibility and cautionary failure. Its destruction underscored the vulnerability of art in a high-stakes industry where trust contracts and technology intersect unpredictably. This story leaves us with lingering questions. How can the industry better protect the rights and works of all contributors? What lessons can artists and labels learn about balancing creative freedom with business realities? And ultimately,